best food in Cairo, Egypt. After 13 years of living in Cairo off and on, here are my top recommendations for more than 20 places where you can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner in Egypt's capital. I'm going to cover all types of food, from street food to fine dining and cocktails, and I'm going to tell you about the classic places that a lot of people know about, and also hopefully some spots that you've never heard of before. And if I miss your favorite restaurant, please leave a comment and let me know what it is, where it is, and what kind of food we can eat there so that I can check it out and add it to a future video. For the folks who don't know me already, my name is Gus. I started Egypt Adventures Travel because I love Egypt and I want to help people have amazing trips there. Now I plan customized private tours of Egypt. I lead group tours myself. I've even got one spot left on my November tour and also my January-February tour for 2026. And I also arrange customized itineraries and get folks connected with my vetted and trusted local guides and drivers in Egypt. If you're interested in going on a group tour with me, you can head to my website, EgyptAdventuresTravel.com. You can also fill out an interest form on the website if you'd like help planning a private customized trip. If you'd like to follow along with this video and read even more and see more photos of all these different amazing restaurants, there is a blog post that I wrote going over everything I'm covering in this video. The blog post is linked in the video description below, so you can head there and follow along, or you can save that blog post to refer to it later on when you're in Egypt. Each separate restaurant on the blog post also has the Google Maps pin, the exact location where the restaurant is, so you can check that out when you're going around Cairo and finding all of these amazing places to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. To keep things organized and make things easier, I'm breaking down the different restaurants I'm recommending into neighborhoods in Cairo. So I'm going to talk about restaurants that are out in Giza on the other side of the river from downtown. I'm going to talk about restaurants on the island of Zamalek, a large island that's in between the Cairo downtown side and the Giza side of the river. I'm going to talk about downtown Cairo, and then I'll give a few recommendations for restaurants in other neighborhoods in Greater Cairo. Let's start with downtown Cairo. Downtown Cairo is where it's at. There's a lot of hotels that are downtown. The Cairo Metro has tons of stops in downtown. Downtown is equidistant between the airports and the pyramids, and it's a great place for people to stay, to eat, and to have fun and explore when they're visiting Egypt. My top spot to eat in downtown Cairo is Kosheri Abu Tariq. Abu Tariq Kosheri is the #1 spot to eat kosheri in all of Egypt, and Egypt has kosheri as its #1 national dish. So you have to try this food when you come to Egypt, and Kosheri Abu Tariq is the place to do it. I've got a full YouTube video that's linked in the blog post that goes over more information on Abu Tariq, but this really quirky and fun local Egyptian restaurant is in downtown, just a 10-minute walk away from the Egyptian Museum, and kosheri is a vegan or vegetarian person's paradise, or even not a vegan or vegetarian, but somebody who loves carbs, because kosheri is a mixture of all sorts of pasta, rice, lentils, chickpeas, fried onions, tomato sauce, hot sauce, vinegar, and garlic. There's so many different ingredients that go into this powerhouse dish, and it's only about $1 for a bowl that'll fill you up for the whole day. So check out Kosheri Abu Tariq if you're in downtown Cairo. That's my #1 recommendation. But let's talk about some other of my favorite spots in downtown to get fed when you're in Egypt. My second recommendation for downtown is not a restaurant actually, but a food tour company. The ladies that started Bellies en Route food tours have amazingly curated food tours that go from downtown Cairo to other neighborhoods in Egypt, giving you a taste of tons of different local foods with an emphasis on supporting local vendors and talking about Egyptian culture and the downtown culture as a whole throughout the tours. If you go to their website, belliesonroute.com, you'll find all sorts of different options for tours and even market tours and cooking classes. So checking this out and spending some time with the folks from Bellies en Route in downtown Cairo is a great foodie activity when you're visiting Egypt. My next downtown recommendation is Fasahed Somaya. Somaya is an Egyptian woman who started cooking food during the Egyptian Revolution, just cooking out on the street for revolutionaries, and everybody said she did such a great job cooking that she should open up her own restaurant. So shortly after the Egyptian Revolution in January of 2011, Somaya opened up her restaurant in downtown Cairo. The focus is authentic home Egyptian cooking in a restaurant setting, and her menu rotates daily depending on what she decides to cook. So some days you might have a completely different menu than other days, and you have to go to this restaurant multiple times in order to try all the delicious food that Sumaya cooks. This restaurant is only open from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the evening though. So you have to be really specific if you want to go visit this downtown Cairo restaurant. And if you go to this restaurant, I try to recommend getting there at 5 o'clock because sometimes the most popular dishes will actually run out by 6 o'clock or 6:30. So if you're going to Somaya's restaurant, check it out in downtown Cairo, but try to show up as close to 5 o'clock as you can. Be flexible because it's going to be an ever-changing menu. You can check her Instagram to see the menu for the day if you want to check beforehand, but get ready to give this restaurant a try. The food is amazing. And I want to put in a quick note for my folks who are vegetarian or vegan or have other dietary needs. I've got a blog post that's written specifically for vegetarian travelers and one for vegan travelers. So I will link that in the video description for you to check out. And then for folks who have dietary needs, when you're going to restaurants in Egypt, it's a great idea to look up the restaurant beforehand and see what types of food they offer. For example, at that kosher restaurant I talked about, somebody who has a gluten sensitivity probably shouldn't visit that restaurant at all, since the only thing on their menu is packed full of carbs and things like macaroni and spaghetti noodles that somebody probably shouldn't be eating if they have a gluten sensitivity. So check out my blog post for vegan and vegetarian specific recommendations, and then folks who have other dietary needs, pay attention to each restaurant, try to check out the menu, check out their Instagram, check out Google reviews to see if that would be a good fit for you when you're visiting Egypt based on what you need to eat. My next recommendation is actually a pair of restaurants that specialize in fool and falafel. Everybody knows falafel, but fool is another staple Egyptian dish. It's stewed fava beans that people mostly eat for breakfast, although you can eat it all day, just like we have all-day restaurants here in the US, and you can order a stack of pancakes at 9 o'clock at night. But more traditionally eaten for breakfast, fool and falafel is a must to try when you're in Egypt. My favorite two spots to get fool and falafel in downtown Cairo are at El Sharouk restaurant or Bashendi. Bashendi is a little bit further south in the Munira district, so it's a little bit further south of downtown Cairo, but El Sharouk is very close to the center of downtown Cairo. Both of these restaurants are more street food type spots. Most of the places serving fool and falafel are, but you can go to them and get a really good falafel sandwich, fool sandwich, or you can even get certain things to go and you can bring stuff back to your hotel or back to your apartment if you're staying at an Airbnb and have an Egyptian style breakfast feast. Even though shawerma sandwiches are not technically Egyptian, I always recommend folks try shawerma when they're staying in Egypt because it is just so delicious. El Hamra street food is my favorite place to get shawerma in downtown Cairo, but there are a ton of other shawerma places. There's Kazaz, there's shawerma Arim, there's tons of places to try shawerma, but El Hamra street food I find has the best shawerma and you don't have to wait in line for a half hour to get your sandwich. El Hamra is right by Talat Harb Square, which is also a really historic and beautiful square. So you can kind of do two things at once when visiting this street food restaurant. Try a delicious chicken or beef shawarma and also see one of Cairo's most historic districts. And my last recommendation for downtown actually didn't make it on the blog post because I hadn't been to this restaurant or heard of it when I wrote that post. But it's a new Mediterranean trattoria called El Maria. It's in the Cinema Radio complex, which is really close to Talat Harb Square. And this Mediterranean trattoria has tons of different small plates. The cuisine ranges from places like Armenia to Turkey to Egypt, of course. And if you order a ton of small plates and share them, you'll have a delicious Mediterranean feast. This is also a really trendy and chic restaurant. They serve alcoholic beverages. They serve espresso drinks like lattes and cappuccinos. It's a really great spot that you can go and sit and relax or also have an evening out with drinks and with some small plates. So check out El Maria if you're in downtown Cairo. It's a great new spot. It's only been open for less than a year. Now we're moving from my recommendations from downtown Cairo to the island of Zamalek. Zamalek is an island in the Nile River. It's in between the Cairo downtown side and the Giza side. And Zamalek is the home to a lot of embassies. There's some art colleges there. There's some hotels. There's a lot of coffee shops, cafes, little restaurants, art galleries, boutiques. It's a really cool neighborhood. It's a really local neighborhood in Cairo, a great spot to stay, to eat, and to explore. My top recommendation for eating on the island of Zamalek is the restaurant called Zuba. Zuba is an Egyptian chain that started in 2012, just a little bit before I arrived to Egypt my very first time as a study abroad student in August of 2012. Zuba serves up authentic Egyptian street food, but in a restaurant setting. So for the folks that I have on my tours where they're worried about eating food from a street cart or eating food from a street vendor, I say, hey, let's go check out Zuba, because they have the same style of food made in a similar manner with their own little twist on it, but it's served in a restaurant setting, so it's a bit more hygienic. It's a place where you can sit down and have a meal. They have menus in English you can order from. So it's like street food, but in a more accessible, comfortable setting for some tourists. Zuba, the original location was in Zamalek, but if you want to try Zuba and you're not going to be in Zamalek, you can also try it at the Grand Egyptian Museum, and there are some other branches in other districts of Cairo. They even had a branch in New York City at one point that I think is now closed down, but they did have one in New York City for a while. Zuba is just a great spot to go for breakfast, for lunch, or even for dinner. The only thing I have to tell people about Zuba is that it's a small space on the Zamalek flagship location, so it's probably going to be busy when you go, and you might need to wait about 15 to 20 minutes for a table, or you might want to put in an order for takeaway and then take your sandwich or take your food with you to go to snack on while you're exploring the island of Zamalek. At the beginning of the video, I promised that I wouldn't just be recommending a bunch of street food places, and my next 3 options for Zamalek are all high-end, fine dining restaurants where you can get good food and great cocktails in a really chic and fancy setting. So my first recommendation for a fine dining restaurant in Zamalek is Pier 88. This is an Italian restaurant that takes up most of the top level of the Imperial boat. It's a stationary boat that's parked on the Nile River, so the boat doesn't move, and it's full of restaurants and nightclubs. Pier 88 is an Italian restaurant. It's the same chef who is the chef at Khufu's restaurant over by the pyramids. I'll talk more about that when we talk about Giza. And the food at Pier 88 is handmade pasta, authentic Italian food, good cocktails. They have a wine list of local Egyptian wine. They have beer, great service, good desserts, and sometimes on the weekend it can be pretty lively with loud music and a DJ and even people dancing. So Pier 88 is my recommendation if you want to go out, have a really fancy dinner on the Nile in Zamalek, and enjoy some good Italian food. Everybody needs a break from Egyptian food every once in a while. The second fine dining restaurant I recommend in Zamalek is called U Bistro. U Bistro is in an unassuming historic apartment building on 26th of July Street in Zamalek. Once you get up to the second level of that apartment building and turn left, you'll be in a sleek, fancy lounge atmosphere. That's U Bistro. They serve really good small plates. They also have entree-sized portions. They have a wine list of local wine. They have cocktails. And the whole atmosphere of this place feels like a really chic lounge, a really fancy spot to sit, have some drinks, have some small plates, or have a full meal. This is another spot like Pier 88 that can get pretty busy on the weekends, and they also sometimes have live music. And the third fine dining spot I recommend in Zamalek is called Crimson. Crimson is a really posh rooftop bar and restaurant that is right on the Nile River. It's a bit further north on the island of Zamalek, so you probably want to take an Uber there, or you might be in for like a 20-30 minute walk depending on where you are on the island. Once you get to Crimson, you go up to the rooftop level and get great views of the Nile River along with good food and good drinks. Crimson, just like the other 2 places I recommended, can get really busy on the weekends. It's good to reserve ahead of time. And on Thursday nights and Friday nights, which are like our Friday and Saturday nights in the States, because the work week in Egypt is Sunday to Thursday. So Thursday night and Friday night can get especially lively. Moving away from fine dining and back to Egyptian food, my next recommendation on the island of Zamalek is Abu Asid. This Egyptian restaurant has been around for a long time, and the decor and the atmosphere is just a total Egyptian vibe. They also serve beer and wine along with classic Egyptian dishes. So this is a good restaurant for folks to go if you want to have a glass of wine or have a local beer along with dinner. We talked about downtown Cairo food options and the island of Zamalek, and now we're moving over to Giza. Giza is the neighborhood that technically, as soon as you cross the River Nile from downtown, you are in Giza. But I'm going to start by talking about restaurants that are over by the Giza Plateau and the Giza Pyramids and Sphinx. So the Giza Pyramids and Sphinx are way out of downtown Cairo. Usually takes about 30 minutes to get out there if you're in an Uber or in a transfer. And there are two really great restaurants to eat at the plateau. My top recommendation inside the Giza Pyramids is Khufu's restaurant. Khufu's restaurant is named after the pharaoh Khufu, who built the Great Pyramid, the largest pyramid in the world. And this restaurant is a cutting-edge, award-winning fine dining restaurant that looks right out over its namesake Great Pyramid. Khufu's is a great spot for folks who want an elevated dining experience that focuses on Egyptian food, but putting an updated modern twist on it. The service is impeccable, the location can't be beat, and the food is delicious. Next to Khufu's in another part of the plateau is the Nine Pyramids Lounge. This restaurant is great for folks who want something that's not quite as elevated, that's a bit more affordable, but still has really good Egyptian food and views of the Giza Pyramids. In my opinion, the view at Nine Pyramids Lounge is actually a bit nicer because it gives you all 9 pyramids that are on the plateau, whereas Khufu's you can only see a couple of the pyramids, even though you're closer to the ones that you can see. But either way, if you eat at Nine Pyramids Lounge or at Khufu's restaurant, you're gonna have great food inside of the Giza Plateau. Something important to note is that these restaurants do not start serving lunch until 12 o'clock p.m. So before lunchtime, they serve breakfast, which I'm using air quotes because in Egypt, what they call breakfast is very different from what we in the US consider breakfast, because for them, what they eat for breakfast, a lot of us would say, oh, that's kind of like lunch food, because they'll eat things like falafel or fool or, quite a hearty spread for the first meal of the day. But if you want to have traditional Egyptian lunch, you have to show up to these restaurants at 12 o'clock p.m. or later. Another common misconception that I want to point out is that a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to go to Khufu's for dinner. I'm going to have dinner at the Giza Pyramids. At the moment, these restaurants shut down at 5 o'clock, so they don't actually serve dinner. So you cannot go to these restaurants and have dinner. If you want to eat at these restaurants, your window of opportunity is from breakfast time up until lunch, maybe a bit late lunch, but by 5 o'clock, these restaurants in the Giza Plateau are shut down, so you can't go to them for dinner. But there is a great dinner option that overlooks the Giza Plateau, and it's outside of the complex, so you can go there anytime, even late at night. This restaurant is called Ziyara Rooftop, and I have a full YouTube video on this restaurant that's linked in the blog post if you want to watch and learn more. This rooftop restaurant also has a branch in El Moez Street, the UNESCO World Heritage Site by the Khana Khalili Souk, so I'll talk about that a little bit later. This location by the Giza Pyramids has great views of the Giza Plateau. It's a rooftop restaurant, the same great food and great service as the Ziyara in El Moez Street. So you can check this out if you want a good dinner option that's by the Giza Plateau. That's really it for the restaurants that I recommend out in the Giza area. Unless you're staying at a hotel like the Marriott Mina House, they have some decent restaurants in that hotel, but not restaurants that I really would tell people to go to the hotel in order to eat at. Just restaurants that if you're staying there already are good options. But all the places by the pyramids and Sphinx, I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of the hotels there, the restaurants, the atmosphere, because I find it to just be a really scammy atmosphere where they're really focused on just trying to get tourist attention and money. And I don't find the quality of a lot of these places to be good, or I find the quality to be, at the very best, just very inconsistent. So those are really my big recommendations for the Giza Plateau and around the pyramids and Sphinx area. If anybody has some good recommendations, please drop them in the comments, because like I said, it's just not my favorite neighborhood and district in Cairo. I'd much rather have folks be spending their time and be eating the delicious food in downtown Cairo, Zamalek, or somewhere close to those areas. But there is one more place I have to bring up that is in Giza technically, but it's really close to Zamalek in downtown. It's just across the river from downtown Cairo. It's called Naama, and Naama has delicious Egyptian street food. This place is so popular with local Egyptians. If you go there in the morning, that's the especially busy time for you to get things like falafel sandwiches or fool. It's often a stop I'll have people do if they don't have a breakfast buffet at their hotel, but we need to get like a falafel sandwich or get something for breakfast on the way out to Saqqara or Giza. It's a great stop. If you want to have authentic local Egyptian food at a place that is super popular and well known with Egyptians, but hardly any tourists go there, check out Naima across the river from downtown Cairo. Now that I've talked about restaurants in downtown Cairo, Giza, and Zamalek, I want to focus on some other parts of Cairo where I've got a few more restaurant recommendations that you should try when you visit Egypt. The first place I have to talk about is called Tabkha Space. This is only about a 20-minute walk south of downtown, and it's run by my friend Hakeem. He has a really small kitchen, and then the sidewalk and the street is the spot where he puts out tables and chairs, and he has amazing homemade Egyptian food that he makes in his kitchen. He goes to the market and gets fresh ingredients every day, so the menu changes every single day. Check his Instagram to see what that day's menu is if you're curious. And then every day of the week, except Fridays, he cooks all this local authentic food and then serves it until it's gone. It's really popular, especially during lunchtime, so you can go there during dinner and it's actually a little bit quieter, although he might have run out of some food by that time. But give Tabkha Space a try if you're in downtown Cairo and you want to do a little walk or take an Uber. You won't regret it. It's a really great local spot, but not a lot of people know about it yet. Just like Tabkha Space, another spot that's close to downtown, but it's technically in the neighborhood of Garden City, which that neighborhood is just southwest of downtown, is called Taboola. Taboola is a Lebanese restaurant. You can check out my full YouTube video in the blog post where I talk all about this restaurant. I've been coming here for 12 years and they've still got the same delicious Lebanese food, and the setting is a total vibe, and I love bringing my guests here. So check out Taboola if you want to try some Lebanese food, if you're close to downtown Cairo, and if you've got a very big appetite. A bonus is that they also serve local beer and local wine, so folks who want to have an alcoholic beverage with dinner can do that at Taboola. My next restaurant is going to take us all the way down to Ma'aidi. Ma'aidi is a neighborhood that's about a 30-minute drive or Uber ride south of downtown Cairo, and it's full of expats, embassies, international schools, and all sorts of different spots. My favorite restaurant in Ma'aidi is called Frank & Co. This is a wine bar that serves small plates along with a great selection of local wines. Going here for a night out is great, going here for a dinner is great, going for a happy hour or to meet up with friends is also great. So if you happen to be in Ma'aidi, I love Frank & Co. I wouldn't recommend going all the way down there though, just for that one restaurant, but if you happen to already be close to the neighborhood, it's a great spot to go for lunch, dinner, drinks, whatever you'd like to do. I also can't talk about Ma'aidi with also not talking about Ratio's Bakery. This bakery is insane. The baked goods that they serve are out of this world. It's also usually really busy, so if you go there, you might not be able to get a table or a spot to sit, but if you happen to be in Ma'aidi, checking out Ratio's Bakery, going in the morning and getting a sweet treat is a must. I already talked about shawerma in downtown Cairo and shared my favorite spot is Alhambra Shawerma or Alhambra Street Food, but my favorite shawerma in general in all of Cairo, and I guess in all of the world, is Abu Ammar Suri. And Abu Ammar Suri is a Syrian restaurant that has two locations in Cairo. One of them is in Mohandesin, somewhat close to downtown. The other location is out in Heliopolis, which is actually a really neat neighborhood. It's very historic. It's got a lot of early 20th century charm and history, and it's located really close to Cairo Airport. So Abu Ammar Suri is the place to go if somebody's saying, Gus, where's your favorite shawarma? It's not as central as downtown Cairo, but if you go to the Mohandesin or the Heliopolis location, you will be able to try my favorite shawarma in Cairo. Which, by the way, what is your favorite shawarma in Cairo? If you've had shawarma in Cairo, do you love Simsima? Do you love Alhambra? Do you love shawarma Reem? I'd love for you to leave a comment and let me know what your favorite shawarma is, because I love shawarma, I love trying shawarma, and it is one of my favorites. And if you're like, Gus, I have no idea what shawarma is, please try it when you go to Egypt because it is delicious. For my next restaurant recommendations, I'm taking you to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of El Moez Street. This street has 1,000 years of Islamic architecture and history, and it's right by the Khan Khalili Souk, or market. So it's a really touristy area that I tell all my guests they should visit if they have more than a day in Cairo. And this restaurant that I'm going to talk about in El Muez Street is a beloved place by local Egyptians. It's called Farhat, and it's a restaurant that serves mainly pigeon. Now, people turn up their nose at me when I talk about eating pigeon, but in Egypt, pigeon is actually a delicacy. Pigeons are raised in Egypt specifically for eating, just like we raise chickens in the States. They don't just grab a dirty pigeon off of the street and cook it up on a grill. They actually raise a specific type of pigeon in clean ways for eating and for cooking. So pigeon in Egypt is a delicacy. When people turn up their nose, I'm like, okay, have you even tried it? Do you even know what I'm talking about? And then once people try it, they might not like it, but some people do, and I love pigeon. I never thought I would eat pigeons before until I went to Egypt and learned they were a delicacy, and now I'm hooked. And Farhat is the #1 spot to get pigeons in all of Cairo. This restaurant is on the street, so the restaurant itself has like a cooking and indoor area, but then they have tables and chairs set up on the street in an alleyway. So you literally sit down in an alley, you get served these delicious stuffed or grilled pigeons, and you just get to go to town on these pigeons. And they also serve other grilled meats. You don't have to have pigeon if you go there. They have other options like kofta and chicken. But if I'm at Farhat, I am definitely eating a pigeon or two. So this is a really local spot. So it's not for the more conservative travelers, but for the people who really want to get local, who want to get their hands dirty, literally and figuratively, head to Farhat and try the delicious stuffed pigeons. Ziyara Rooftop that I talked about at the Giza Plateau also has a location in El Muez, and this is their original location. This rooftop looks out over Muez Street, and it's a great atmosphere, great food, great service, and just overall my top choice for where to eat when you're in Khan Khalili and El Muez Street. So check out Ziyara Rooftop for really classic Egyptian food with a bit of a modern twist on some of the dishes. And my one really favorite thing to point out here is they have a special dessert that's kind of a mixture of traditional Egyptian desserts that they actually have a patent for because it's a secret recipe. So when you go to Ziyara, try the Ziyara pie. It's similar to basbousa, but it's also very different and delicious. So you can try their special dessert with a secret patented recipe, Ziyara pie, when you come to this rooftop restaurant in El Muez Street. So I just gave you more than 20 restaurant recommendations of places that you can try when you visit Egypt. And of course, I missed a lot of places. There's so many restaurants and so many great spots to get food in Cairo. So drop a comment and let me know what your favorite places are that I missed, what places I have to add to the list, what places I should try. And if you have any questions about food in Egypt, restaurants, or anything relating to Egypt travel, drop a comment. I love replying and reading every single one of my viewers' comments. And I made this video thanks to my viewers who asked for me to make a video about my food recommendations, because I did a whole video on all the places to travel and visit in Egypt. And then people said, hey Gus, I want you to make a video on food and places to eat. So if you like this video, like the video, share it, comment what else you'd like me to cover on travel to Egypt, and I'd love to keep talking about Egypt travel with all of you. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.